The warning, what you're about to hear will change everything you know about attraction. You've been lied to, played, tricked into believing that if you just say the right words, buy the right gifts, or pretend to be someone you're not, she'll finally choose you. But here's the brutal truth. Women don't fall for desperate men. They don't chase after approval. They don't settle for beggars. They surrender to KINGS. And if you're sitting there wondering why she walked away, why she picked him over you, or why no matter what you do, it's never enough. You're about to have the blindfold ripped off. This isn't another cheap dating hack or some tired pickup artist nonsense. This is the raw, unfiltered reality of what actually makes a woman's heart race, her respect deepen, and her loyalty lock in permanently. And if you ignore this, you'll stay stuck in the same cycle of rejection, frustration, and wasted time. But if you listen, really listen, your entire life will shift. I'm going to expose the one thing women crave more than money, more than looks, more than empty compliments, the one force that separates the men they forget from the men they can't. And once you see it, once you embody it, you'll never struggle for her attention again. Because she won't just want you, she'll fear losing you. This is your wake-up call. The next few minutes will either be the turning point of your life, or just another video you scroll past while staying exactly where you are. The choice is yours. But if you're ready to become the man women truly desire, don't you dare look away. Let's get something straight, because this is where most men fail before they even begin. They hear the word unavailable, and they immediately think of some aloof, emotionally distant guy who plays mind games, who ghosts, who keeps women guessing just to manipulate their interest. But that's not what we're talking about here. That guy, he's a fraud. And women, intelligent, self-respecting women, see through that act faster than you can blink. No, the kind of unavailable that actually attracts women is something entirely different. It's not about ignoring her. It's not about pretending you don't care. So ask yourself, are you unavailable in the right way? Or are you still waiting for permission to matter? Let's talk about something that most men never fully grasp. Something so fundamental that missing it will sabotage every relationship, every interaction, every chance at real connection. And that is this: attraction isn't something you negotiate. It isn't something you earn by saying the right words, buying the right gifts, or proving your loyalty through endless sacrifices. Attraction is a biological and psychological response, hardwired, instinctive, and it only fires in one direction towards strength. Now, when I say strength, I don't just mean physical power or some cartoonish alpha male dominance. I mean something far deeper, the strength of a man who respects himself, a man who has boundaries, a man who doesn't tolerate disrespect, not because he's entitled, but because he knows his own worth, a man who doesn't beg for love, but instead becomes someone worthy of it. Here's the brutal truth: women don't fall for men who need them. They fall for men who inspire them, and nothing inspires a woman faster than a man who clearly, unshakably, respects himself. Think about it. What's more attractive? A man who changes his opinions, his habits, even his personality just to please her? Or a man who stands firm in his values, who isn't swayed by every shift in her mood, who remains solid even when she tests him? That second man, the one who doesn't crumble under pressure, is the one who earns real respect. And respect is the foundation of everything. This isn't about being stubborn or refusing to compromise. It's about understanding that you cannot build a relationship on desperation. If you're constantly trying to prove yourself, constantly seeking her approval, constantly afraid that she'll walk away, then you've already lost. Because women, like all people, are drawn to those who carry themselves with quiet assurance. They can sense neediness from a mile away, and it repels them at a primal level. So how do you develop this kind of self-respect? It starts with taking responsibility for your own life. Not blaming others, not complaining about how unfair dating is, not waiting for some external validation to make you feel whole. It means looking in the mirror and asking, would I respect the man I see? If the answer is no, then you have work to do. Because here's the thing, women don't choose men who don't choose themselves first. If you don't value your time, she won't either. If you don't enforce your boundaries, she'll push them. If you don't stand for something, she'll see right through you. This is why self-respect isn't just some abstract concept. It's the magnetic force that draws the right people into your life. When you respect yourself, you filter out those who don't. When you respect yourself, you stop chasing those who aren't worth it. And when you respect yourself, you become the kind of man who doesn't just attract women. You attract the right women. So ask yourself today, do you respect the man you've become? If not, it's time to rebuild. Let's address the fundamental error that plagues most men in the modern dating landscape. This desperate, scrambling pursuit of women as if romantic attention were some scarce resource you have to beg for. That mentality alone guarantees failure. Because here's the psychological truth women understand instinctively, but most men never grasp: value flows toward those who embody it, not those who plead for it. When you chase, you communicate one devastating message: that she is the prize and you're just another contestant. That framework alone destroys any possibility of genuine attraction. But when you build yourself into someone of substance, when you cultivate a life of meaning and direction, the entire dynamic reverses. Suddenly, you're not auditioning for her attention. You're evaluating whether she meets your standards. That shift in positioning changes everything. This isn't about manipulation or game playing. It's about understanding a fundamental law of human nature. People want what they perceive as valuable, and nothing appears less valuable than someone who doesn't value themselves. The man who texts constantly, who rearranges his schedule at her whim, who molds himself to fit her preferences, he broadcasts his lack of intrinsic worth with every needy interaction. Consider the biological reality we're working with here. Across thousands of years of human evolution, women have been the selectors. Their survival depended on choosing partners who demonstrated real competence and stability. That wiring hasn't disappeared just because we have dating apps now. When you present yourself as desperate for approval, you trigger those ancient alarm bells signaling, this man cannot be relied upon. The path forward isn't about pretending to be valuable. It's about becoming valuable in measurable, tangible ways. Develop skills that command respect. Build a life that excites you with or without a woman in it. Cultivate the kind of character that makes people lean in when you speak. These aren't tricks, they're transformations. This brings us to the critical distinction between pursuit and attraction. Pursuit is what you do when you lack better options. It's the frantic energy of someone trying to fill a void. Attraction is what happens when you become someone worth pursuing. One requires constant effort and yields diminishing returns. The other compounds over time as you improve yourself. The most tragic mistake I see is men believing they need to shrink themselves to fit a woman's expectations. They suppress their ambitions, soften their edges, and trade their convictions for approval. But here's the paradox. The less you need a woman's validation, the more freely she'll give it. Not because you're manipulating her, but because you've become genuinely compelling. This principle extends beyond dating into every aspect of your life. The man who chases money never keeps it. The man who chases status never earns real respect. But the man who chases excellence, who builds something meaningful, finds all these things flowing toward him naturally. The same dynamic governs romantic success. Your mission isn't to convince any particular woman of your worth. It's to become a man whose worth is self-evident. When you approach interactions from that position, everything changes. Your posture changes. Your tone changes. Your ability to walk away from what doesn't serve you changes. And women respond to that unshakable foundation in ways they'll never respond to pleading. This is why personal development isn't just some self-help cliche, it's the bedrock of genuine attraction. Every skill you master, every pound of muscle you build, every dollar you earn, every book you absorb, these aren't just checklist items. They're votes of confidence in yourself. And that confidence radiates outward in ways no pickup line ever could. So the question isn't, how do I get her to choose me? The question is, what kind of man do women instinctively choose? Then you become that man, not for her, but for yourself. The irony, that's exactly what makes you irresistible. Let's cut through the noise and address one of the most misunderstood aspects of male attractiveness, this false dichotomy between confidence and emotional vulnerability. Modern dating advice has men swinging between two extremes, either becoming some unfeeling fortress of stoicism or oversharing every insecurity in the name of being vulnerable. Both approaches fail spectacularly because they miss the crucial point. What women actually respond to is emotional strength, which is something entirely different from either posturing or weakness. Emotional strength isn't about suppressing your humanity, it's about mastering it. It's the capacity to experience doubt, fear, or frustration without being controlled by those emotions. This is what psychologists call emotional regulation, the ability to sit with discomfort without needing to either act out or shut down. And here's why this matters in attraction. Women have evolved to detect this quality at a visceral level. When a man can remain centered during conflict, when he can acknowledge difficult emotions without being overwhelmed by them, he signals something incredibly powerful that he can be relied upon when life gets hard. Consider this biological reality. For most of human history, a woman's survival and her children's survival depended on choosing a partner who wouldn't crumble under pressure. This evolutionary wiring hasn't disappeared just because we live in modern times. When a man loses his composure at the first sign of emotional turbulence, whether that's neediness, jealousy, or anger, he triggers ancient alarm bells. Conversely, the man who can navigate emotional complexity with steadiness, he becomes irreplaceable. Now, this doesn't mean becoming emotionally closed off. In fact, the opposite is true. Real emotional strength requires the courage to be authentic, to express care, concern, even fear when appropriate, but always from a place of centeredness rather than desperation. There's a world of difference between saying, "I'm worried about this situation," from a grounded place and anxiously seeking reassurance. One demonstrates emotional intelligence, the other reveals emotional dependency. This explains why the bad boy archetype eventually fails in long-term relationships. Sure, the appearance of confidence might create initial attraction, but without actual emotional resilience beneath the surface, the facade cracks under life's pressures. Meanwhile, the man who's done the inner work, who's faced his shadows, who understands his emotional patterns, who can sit with discomfort, he becomes the rock that women instinctively gravitate toward when they're ready for something real. The practical implications of this are profound. It means developing the ability to expression without immediately trying to fix it or making it about yourself. Remain calm during conflict, rather than escalating or withdrawing, and express your own needs and boundaries clearly without aggression or passivity. Take responsibility for your emotional state rather than blaming others. For all this, feel safe being authentic because they see trailers with their clothes when it's tolerance and cultural needs. And maybe the looking leave and not lazy and many knows these are in highway than really get made. It's able to don't try to go on as a level for this whole life. They have to be relations. This sounds. And this isn't just about romantic relationships. This emotional strength affects every area of your life, from your career to your friendships to your sense of self-worth. The path to developing this isn't through tricks or shortcuts. It requires honest self-examination, learning to recognize when you're reacting from fear rather than responding from strength. It means building the self-awareness to catch yourself when you're slipping into neediness or defensiveness. And most importantly, it demands the courage to sit with discomfort rather than seeking quick validation. This is why personal growth work isn't optional if you want to become truly attractive, not just for a first date, but for a lifetime. Every time you choose to face your emotions rather than run from them, every time you respond rather than react, every time you maintain your center in challenging situations, you're not just improving your dating life, you're upgrading your entire existence.